In the previous class, we have seen the last sample test for difference of means when the data is measurable in any of the physical units. But when the data is of qualitative, that means the data is not measured in any of the physical units, then also we have to test the data here. So that is the test for single proportion and test for difference of proportions. Now in this class, we will discuss the problems on test for single proportion here. If you see the problem, in a sample of 500 from a village in Rajasthan, 280 are found to be wheat eaters, means they are the habituated of taking wheat, and the rest are rice eaters. Can we assume both are equally popular? So here nothing is mentioned, means the data is not measured here. So 280 are found to be wheat eaters. So eating is one of the habit which can't be measured just by observation, we can tell here. Right? So first we have to define the two proportions here, the two attributes. So if P represents the proportion of wheat eaters, okay, then obviously Q must represent the proportion of rice eaters. So this question has two attributes here. One is the wheat eaters and the other one is the rice eaters. So P represents the proportion of wheat eaters, means Q represents the proportion of rice eaters. So we have already discussed in that in an experiment, if P stands for the success, then obviously Q stands for the failure, and both should be equal to 1. Means both are having the equal chances here. So like that, can we assume that both articles are equally popular? That means nothing is mentioned about the population proportion here. Both are equally popular, means capital P is 0.5 and even capital Q is also 0.5 here. So H naught, just we have to test capital P equal to 0.5. So whenever they will not mention the value of population proportion, then we have to assume that both the proportions has equal chance. So capital P is 0.5. So by default we have to consider it as 0.5. Now again as here H1, so there are no comparable words, so capital P is not equal to 0.5, that is the two-tiled alternative hypothesis. Then under H0, the test statistic for single proportion is given by the formula Z equal to small p minus capital P by square root of capital PQ by N, follows a normal distribution with mean 0 and variance 1. So here small p represents the sample proportion and capital P represents the population proportion, and we know that the error, the standard error for proportion is the square root of PQ by N here. So from the given data, means the sample size is here 500. So out of 500 here, 280 are found to be wheat eaters. That means the small p is 280 by 500. So remember here, whatever the capital P represents, small p also should represent the same attribute. If capital P represents the proportion of wheat eaters, then small p, the sample also should talk about the wheat eaters only. So 280 by 500 is equal to 0.56. Okay, and we know that capital P is 0.5 and capital Q is nothing but 1 minus P. So 1 minus 0.5 is 0.5 only. Now substitute in the Z formula, 0.56 minus 0.5 by square root of 0.5 into 0.5 by N value is 500 here. So first we simplify the denominator. So 0.5 into 0.5 divided by 500 is 0.0005. Now square root of that is 0.0224. Now 0.56 minus 0.5 is 0.06. Now from this the calculator value is here 2.6786. So that means the Z calculated value is 2.6786 here. Now we have to obtain the Z tab at the level of significance is not mentioned. So whenever the level of significance is not mentioned, we have to consider by default 5%. Z tab at 5% level of significance for the corresponding alternative, that is two-tiled here. So for two-tailed it is 1.96. So that means Z tab is 1.96, Z cal is 2.6786. So Z cal is greater than Z tab, so therefore H naught is rejected. That means here the proportion of the rice and wheat eaters are not equally popular. So that means P is not equal to 0.5. Right? So our conclusion is here. Can we assume that both the articles are equally popular? So the proportion of rice and wheat eaters are not equally popular here. That is the conclusion for this problem. Now the next problem is a manufacturer claimed that at least 95% of the equipment which he supplied to a factory conformed to specifications. An examination of a sample of 200 pieces of equipment revealed 18 were faulty. Test the claim at 0.05 level. So the null hypothesis will be 95% of the equipment conformed to specification means 0.95. Then again is the alternative hypothesis here, at least is a comparable word. So the capital P is less than 0.95. Then under the null hypothesis, the test statistic is given as Z equal to small p minus capital P by square root of capital PQ by N follows a normal distribution with mean 0, variance 1. Now the sample size is here 200. Out of 218 were faulty. But here the population proportion represents the proportion of non-defective items. But in the sample they have given out of 218 were defective. So the small p will be 200 minus 18 by 200. So it is here 200 minus 18 is 182 by 200 is 0.91. Okay. Now capital P is 0.95 means capital Q will be 1 minus P, that is 1 minus 0.95 is equal to 0.05. Now substitute in the formula of Z. Small p minus capital P 0.91 minus 0.95 by square root of 0.95 into 0.05 by 200. So this is minus 0.04 by the root denominator value is here 0.0154. So finally the Z calculated will be negative. 0.04 divided by 0.0154 is 2.5974. So Z cal is minus 2.5974. Now here we cannot consider the modulus of Z cal because the alternative hypothesis is here left type. So tabulated value of Z at the level of significance is 5%, level of significance for left type. So for left type is here Z tab is equal to minus 1.64, right? So whenever the alternative hypothesis is left type, so the tabulated value will become minus, right? So Z cal is minus 2.5974 and Z tab is minus 1.64. That means Z cal is less than Z tab, so therefore H naught is rejected, right? So when the alternative hypothesis is left type, Z cal is less than Z tab, then H naught is rejected. That means here P less than 0.95. That means whatever the manufacturer claimed, that is accepted here. Now let us see the last problem in test for single proportion. Experience had shown that 20% of a manufactured product is of the top quality. In 1 day's production of 400 articles, only 50 are of top quality. Test the hypothesis at 0.01 level of significance. So here both the population proportion and sample proportion are of top quality only. So it's representing the same thing. So if we consider the capital P as the proportion of your top quality, then capital Q represents the proportion of means defective, right? So H naught capital P is 20% of a manufacture, means 20% means here 0.2, right? Then again as here H1, now in this problem we are not observing any comparable words here. So H1 will be not equal to, that means 2 times, P not equal to 0.2. Then under the null hypothesis, the test statistic is here z equal to small p minus capital P by square root of capital PQ by n follows a normal distribution with mean 0 and variance 1. Now see the given data here. The sample size is here 400. The population proportion is 0.2. That means the capital Q is 1 minus P. So 1 minus 0.2 is 0.8. And small p is here out of 400, 50 are of top quality, means 50 by 400. So it is here 0.125. Now substitute in the Z formula, small p minus capital P means 0.125 minus 0.2 capital P by square root of 0.2 into 0.8 by 400. So it is 0.125 minus 0.2 is minus 0.075 by the denominator 0.2 into 0.8 divided by 400 is 0.0004. So square root of that is 0.02. Now the Z cal will be here negative. So 0.075 by 0.02 is minus 3.75. Now consider the modulus of the calculated value. So mod Z cal is 3.75 here. Now the Z tab at here they have given that test at 0.01 level of significance. So Z tab at 1% level of significance for the alternative hypothesis here not equal to, that means for 2 tile. So 1% 2 tile value is here 2.58. So Z tab is 2.58. So mod Z tab is here 3.75, which is greater than Z tab 2.58. So that means here H naught is rejected. So H naught is rejected means here we are accepting H1. That means here experience had shown that 20% of manufactured product is of top quality. We are rejecting that. That means capital P is not equal to 0.2. Right? So with this we have completed the problems on test for single proportion. In the next class we will discuss about the problems on difference of proportion.